my dad got diagnosed with cancer. And he took the family to a Pizza Hut. And everybody knew he was sick, but we really didn't know to what degree he was sick. And we went to the Pizza Hut and we ate. And then he got in the car with me and he said, I wanna ride with you. And we got in the car and we were in the car and I was getting ready to pull off and he's like, hold on, let me talk to you for a minute. And my dad and I didn't have the best relationship, by the way. I mean, he was present, I knew who he was, I got his last name, we looked just alike, blah, 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 but we didn't have like this connection. Like it was fractured. And we were in the car, my father was like, I got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer and I'm gonna beat it. And it was the first time I saw my dad cry. He like just started tearing up. And immediately, like this weight that I had of this resentment of him like not being in my life and not being present, I had never felt something like go away like that. It like completely went away. And it was like, it completely shifted my relationship with my dad, right? And so we started going to chemo and all of that, and my father kept talking about God was gonna heal him, God was gonna heal him, God was gonna heal him. And after a while, I kind of accepted the fact that he was gonna be transitioning. And so he and I our conversations started also transitioning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Pop, what if God ain't here to heal your body, but he's here to heal your relationships with your kids, you know, because I have siblings. And when I was listening to y'all's story about your diagnosis and how it could be perceived as like a disease or opportunity to heal one thing, your story coming in, it felt like it was an opportunity to heal your whole family. And that's how I felt when I was listening to y'all joint. And when you talked about being in, I think 2006, when you were diagnosed, was there things, without being specific, that was like going on like in the family outside of like just like the physical, that your diagnosis helped heal within your own family?
I would say, I think to some degree, because Shantae lived in Richmond before she moved back home, she lived in Richmond. And so I felt like there was a little bit of strain there. And she was going through a lot. She had a baby and we're like, you know, you need to come home, you need to come home. So I would say in that regard, maybe there was some feelings of what are we doing? You know, what are you doing? Yeah, I would say, yeah, to some degree, yes.
Okay. Because it felt like as you guys were, at least with the diagnosis, it was like an opportunity for things to really start to kick off, to start shifting things on how like the family did things and how people were going to rally around to heal the process for you, like moving forward with your diagnosis.
Yeah, definitely that. Because we didn't really have a family history of it. So I think that did bring us together around a cause. Like kidney walks, everyone would come out to that. Anything we needed during the surgery, after the surgery, whether it's picking the kids up, making food, whatever, everybody came together to make that happen. And we do have strong, especially on my mother's side, we have strong family roots. Like we used to have Sunday dinners every Sunday prior to my grandmother's transition. So I would say in that regard, this situation was one that kept us together, coming together, and rallying around each other. Yeah, so I think it did a lot for different people in different ways. Yeah. Some we know and can see, and then others, I just think it may have happened naturally without them even being aware that, wow, I have a whole new perspective on something.
When you got diagnosed, I remember listening to some of your interviews. It was, what did it feel like for you, like internally, when you realized that, like, hey, I've got this thing?
At first I thought I did it too, like I had done something, like maybe this is something from my past and I'm being punished because of this. And at first I felt like it was my fault. And then as I was going through the journey, because it was a very spiritual journey for me, very spiritual. And I wouldn't say that, so I have a relationship, I had a relationship with God, but it wasn't what it is today. But I learned a lot about faith and God and all of that through that journey. And so I would say that for me, it started out with shame and feeling like I did something. Like I did something in my past. I had an abortion when I was 16. So that was the first thing that came to mind, like this is my punishment. And with focal segmental glomerular sclerosis, a part of the nephrons in your kidneys, the filters in your kidneys, become scarred. So I was like, that's what the scarring is. You know, like I had this whole thing made up in my mind that this was punishment. Like this is what I get for making that decision at 16 years old. And so it started out that way, but then God was like, no, this is not that. This is something completely outside of that. And so then that was a whole nother transition, and I would say, you know, even a mind transformation of, okay, so it's not that. Well, where's this come? What did I do? You know, I'm a 31-year-old mother, and I'm here with kidney disease, and you know, my whole world is turned upside down. And so, you know, I thought I was in faith, but I really wasn't, like throughout the journey. And so I've evolved even in that way, because to me, faith meant, because I'm a child of God, faith meant I'm going to be healed. Like, I'm not going on dialysis. You're going to heal me. I'm going to pray. I'm going to fast. I'm going to do all this stuff, and then I'm going to be healed. And God took me on a journey even through that what I thought was healing wasn't necessarily in line with his design, because the Bible says you were healed. So he had already taken care of the healing. Now, how it shows up may not look like what I thought. So how it showed up for me was going to look like, no, you're not going on dialysis. You're going to be miraculously healed. And not to say that that can't happen, but that in my mind, that's what I thought. So everything was very spiritual, and it wasn't until my mind transformed that God, this is healing.
Yeah.
I am healed, and however this manifests itself, I'm still healed regardless. And so that was a whole journey, because I think when we think of healing, we're looking for something on the outside that looks like, you know, my legs just miraculously,
Boom,
you know, went down.
I can walk.
Yes, I'm off this medication. Like it's all these things that I thought in my mind. But through this process, I saw how healing is not necessarily something that is tangible that you see right away, but it could be like my mind was renewed and healed throughout the journey. My whole perspective of me going into this, I started out in shame. Then I went through the grieving process. I tell everybody, like, you're going to grieve it, because life as you know it is going to change. So I grieved it, went through all the shaming, the anger, all of that, until I came to a place of acceptance. And I feel like when I came to the place of acceptance, that's when the real healing could begin. Mentally, emotionally, all of that. It was in the hospital room that I got this revelation that you're already healed, Sharon. Like, it doesn't matter what else happens on the other side of this. It's already been taken care of. And basically, you're so consumed with you right now that you don't see the beauty in this process. And so everything was very spiritual in that way. So once I wrapped my mind around, like, yeah, I'm healed. Like, what is dialysis? You know, his name, dialysis. You know, that's how he had to break it down to me. Like, you're thinking about you. You're thinking about what it looks like. And so once I took hold of that revelation, I felt like the healing could begin in me and the others around me, because what I wanted to display was Christ at work in me, no matter whether I was on dialysis or transplant or whatever. And so.
Now, you donated to your sister.
Yes.
And what, to whatever degree you're willing to share, when you were presented, before that, did you divulge to your family immediately that you?
Yes.
Okay.
So to my siblings and parents.
Okay.
Not to the
got
larger family, extended family, but yes, to my siblings and parents, I just say, hey, they're saying I'm gonna have to go on dialysis, so
Okay.
just wanted you all to know, and yeah.
So when you heard, what was your reaction to
Her
the
going
news?
on dialysis.
Or her, yeah.
Well, the initial reaction was wow. Like it was a long time from 2006 until that I need to go on dialysis. It was like a breaking period. So I really thought that everything was fine with her, you know. So a lot of times, you know, when you're going through something, she, I guess, waited until she got that notice before she kept saying, no, I'm still dealing with this. No, I'm, you know, and I don't even know if she was dealing with any of that. But so it came as a, wow. So what's the next step? And she said, I'm probably gonna need a transplant. And so my question was, can you be alive and give somebody a kidney? Like can you get a kidney? I always thought that you had to wait for someone to die before you can get a transplant. That's what I thought, you know. And she was like, yeah, you can be a living donor. And I said, I'll do it. And she was like, I mean, I'm not saying you have to. I didn't say that you even asked. I just said, I'll do it. You know, I got you. And that's how that came about. It really was no thought. I didn't think about anything. I didn't call her the next day. It was really, I got you. I'll do it. Like, what do I need to do?
What, was there something specific going on with you to where you were like, hey,
Oh, yes.
I want to do this. I need to do this.
Yeah. So she mentioned I was living in Virginia. It was a whole situation. In the middle of a breakup with someone, it was kids involved. I now had a kid involved with this situation. We became homeless, kinda. They stayed on the floor of someone's house, but I was a corrections officer. So my hours were different. So by the time I got off work, the house was shut down, everyone was asleep. So there was plenty of nights that I was in the car. My baby was safe, but I was in the car. And so at that point, I was needed to move anyway. You know, I can't be without my kid sleeping in somebody's car or taking him around joy rides during the day because that's someone else's house. So that's how it was for a couple of weeks. And so this was even before the diagnosis. So at first I was gonna stay down there, just figure it out. But ironically, God was saying, you gotta go. You gotta go, right? And I didn't know what it's for. He was like, this is life or death. You have to go. And so I went up there. This is before she even said, I need a kidney. So I went up there. I don't know what this is for. I was oh my gosh, it was the worst, the darkest time of my life. To be with a kid at your mom's house with no job, no income, you know, people stressing out to, you know, we need this baby to go to daycare. And just to hear, it was so chaotic. So I was chaotic. My inside was chaotic. And I'm looking like, God, like you say this is life or death. Like this is really, like what is happening?
Where's the life?
Yeah. And so when she said that, like you said, it was a click, boom, that's my purpose. That was the life or death. And not only that, I was suicidal. So me being around family, that was the life or death. And so to me, it was nothing to think about. That's my purpose. I came up here. One, you know where I'm in my darkest space. So you know my family is going to really rally around in your darkest hour. And then two, she's going through her thing. That's my purpose. That's why I'm here. And that became the focus. It was no longer writing suicide notes. It was no longer, I'm going to take my life, because it was very present. I actually tried before this whole thing. I literally tried. And God was like, we're not doing that. So I was mad at him, like I can't even do that right,
Yeah.
And then boom, this happens. That's my purpose, and that's how that became a thing. No questions asked.
When did you guys have your donation surgery?
2013.
December 2nd, 2013.
Oh, so y'all just had y'all 10-year.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I resonate with your story because of the purpose thing. I think more like healing and purpose were those two words that just kept popping up as I was listening to what you as I was listening to your story and watching some interviews of y'all and stuff on YouTube, because once I found out what my purpose was, it like shifted everything in regards to what my relationship to like my movement, like how I saw myself. Because before then, I just always felt like if I don't get up, it won't matter because I don't matter. And it's not like somebody's waiting on me to do something, or like I can not do nothing. Like it won't matter if I'm not here.
Right.
Like that's where the thought process for all of it goes. But the idea of me having a purpose almost was like, no, you gotta get up.
You gotta get up.
You gotta move. You're needed. And the trickle down effect of like that concept of having a purpose has just been truly like life changing.
Definitely.
For me.
Definitely life changing.
And that's what I feel like with even with my dad and his cancer, and I'm not trying to make a direct correlation to like y'all story, but it was like there's this idea, I feel, that these negative circumstances that we have in our life are negative, and like there can't be a positive that comes out of it. And sometimes if you pray for something, God won't necessarily give you the answer per se, but he'll give you the situation that you got to go through to get the answer. But that's also God and prayer too. And that's what I feel like your diagnosis, at least for me on the outside, when I think of y'all story, it's like God has given the process. Because like even when you went through your surgery and you were going through the entire process, you started seeing things in the healthcare system, how Black people are, being underserved, how we even have communications about this stuff as Black people. And you were like, hold on, there's something that I can do here. Can you talk about that?
Sure. It took us a year to get to the transplant table. And so even in that, thinking back, I'm like, wow, a lot of people stop at the first no. But, my sister was relentless, but I got to see firsthand how it is, how the system can be. We were pretty educated. We researched, we did what we had to do. We were, familiar with the process. We learned what we needed to learn. She figured out what she needed to do, and we did everything they asked us to do. But they kept saying no. And I'm like, she's had 2 bone marrow biopsies. Like, what is going on? And so I realize now what other people of color, that if you don't advocate for yourself or really push, I may still be on dialysis to this day, had she not said, no, I'm doing this, I don't care if they're saying no, And so I learned a lot in that regard about the healthcare system, being Black, going through the process, what it's like for other people, because of course you hear stories in the dialysis center, well, they denied me, and so I don't got time. And even myths about organ donation, what it means and all of that. And so I learned a lot and realized, let me back up and just say, the first day I walked into the dialysis center was the day I felt like my whole perspective of what I was supposed to do shifted. Like it was almost like, so we're all sitting around, in these chairs, and no one's talking about what they're going through here. Like I felt a lot of emotions. I felt kind of embarrassed that I didn't know about dialysis enough. kind of like a sense of urgency, like, why aren't we talking about this? Like, all of us come here to these centers. Some of our families know, some don't. Do people really understand what's going on in here? Like, this isn't okay. And I think that's where my, a sense of urgency came, like, you have to do something. Like this, your story, even if it's just share your story, you need to be a part of the change that you want to see. Because I felt like, okay, so we have these dialysis centers on every corner, but you rarely hear people talking about it unless you, like, I only heard about it if I say, oh yeah, I'm on dialysis. Oh yeah, my mother was, you know, and it's just like, well, why isn't this common knowledge, or why aren't we talking about it as a community? Because they're everywhere. And so are we just gonna sit back and allow this to happen? Or are we just gonna say, well, this is just what it is, you know, and then they just keep building these centers and we just show up and your mother, father, sister, brother, you know, we're just gonna let it go through the bloodline, you know. And so that just did something on the inside of me, like, no, you know, even if I'm just one person to share our story, and even with living donation, it's not common in our community. So I was like, even if we just share our story, you know, that's a start. That'll at least open the door for other people to at least consider doing something different or being a part of their loved ones' rescue.
Now, we're like 13% of the population, Black folks, right? But we represent like 35% of the people affected by kidney disease. Why is that?
I think there are a lot of factors. I feel like, one, we're not having the conversations. So through conversation, we can educate each other about how not to get there. You know, so we're not having these conversations. And many times generations are coming behind and repeating the cycle that the generation before them had to go through. And so there's no place for healing or for shifting what's going on in bloodlines. So that's one. Also, we represent the highest number of people with hypertension and diabetes, which are the two leading causes of kidney disease. And so that already puts us, you know, at a disadvantage because, and that was another thing with living donation, is that a lot of people's family members weren't in a position to donate, even if they wanted to.
Because of the health and like weight and stuff.
Oh, I have high blood pressure too, so I can't do it. You know, and so it's just like, we've got to change this whole narrative all the way around, starting with prevention on up. You know, it's bigger. Once you get to the dialysis and transplant phase, it's kind of like, you know, we're already here now. Yeah. But let's do something back here with generations coming behind you, because if not, we're going to stay on the same path. I think access is also a barrier for us. Many people don't know what to do. And with past relationships with the healthcare system, there's distrust there. So it's a lot of different factors that influence that 35%. And that's a part of why I feel like it's necessary for me to be a part of the change, because it's like, if I'm not going to share with my family what's going on and help them navigate through it, then it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same cycle, and the number will increase from even 35%, because we're not taking the steps to change that trajectory.
These kind of relationships that get disturbed when we don't take the time to know what it is to sing, to know how to get close to the mic again, or to get something from singing doesn't make it happen, or maybe.
Now, the women you guys are listening to is Sharon Rouse and Shantae Simpson, sisters. And I was reminded Sharon is the oldest. Just wanted to make sure I got that one. I really appreciate you sisters coming on and sharing the story. Obviously, I'm a living donor. Obviously, people I don't know. I'm a living donor, and your story really touched me when I heard about, you know, when I got connected to you. I can't even remember how we got connected. I'm sure it was through the woman I donated to, Kidney, Tracy. Her name is not Kidney. So through your journey, you created a nonprofit called Kindness for Kidneys. The shirts. Can you talk about the work that you do there, and just talk about the work that you do.
So again, going back to this sense of urgency to do something. And I didn't have a plan like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. I just wanted to help. I just wanted us to get out there and just start sharing our story. Even of the day of the launch, I didn't have a clear picture of what we were gonna do. I just knew I was supposed to do something. Like, we've got to get out there, we got to put the word out there. Living here in the DC area, I saw an article that said that DC Ward 7 and 8 were ground zero for kidney disease. And so I'm like
in the country, right?
Yes.
Which is crazy, like the two.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was like, that's correct. And I didn't feel like there were really resources. Like, where are the resources for kidney disease? Like, are there, like they have cancer centers, are there kidney centers, and I didn't hear of any. And so I was like, well, then we have to start it. Let's start having it. It was a dream of mine to have a support group. And I was like, just some place that people can come that's a safe space for them to share their stories, to feel like they have some support, because it really is a lonely process. Like, especially you're going to these centers like 12, 13 hours a week, and a lot of times those people in the centers become your family, but it can be a very lonely experience sitting in the chair. Like, it can get to be pretty lonely, and it can get dark, which is why some people on dialysis experience depression. And so we just wanted to be a sense of encouragement and empowerment, and also get the message out there that you have to be your best advocate. Like, you cannot just show up to the doctors or show up to the hospital and lay there and think that that's okay. And so let's give you some tools and empower you so that you could go out there and be a change for you and your family. And so we started out I was like, okay, we're gonna launch. I jumped out there. I was like, okay, now what are we gonna do?
And when was that launch?
It was December 2nd, 2018.
The anniversary.
Fifth anniversary.
Okay.
Yep. And so I said, okay, I just felt a need. Let's just get it out here. And I knew once I got it out there, I'm not the type of person that would just let it fall. So it was scary, but I was like, no, the launch date is. Once I set the date, I was like, oh gosh, this is real now. Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't even know what I'm doing. And so the first, for the launch, we asked people, I said, well, let's just start with the Christmas holiday. I want to go back to my facility and pass out bags and just let them know that, if I can get out, so can you. Like, if I can make it, like, just to encourage them, because the holidays were really difficult for a lot of people. Imagine having to go in there on Christmas Eve, and the staff, they try to make it an upbeat thing and like give out little candy canes and things, but the holiday time for most people is a very reflective time. And so I just remember sitting there like, am I going to be too tired to go to Thanksgiving dinner? Am I going to be too tired to really want to open gifts with my family and be there, be present? And so I said, well, we asked people to bring like puzzles and neck pillows and blankets and all of that. And I wanted to take it back to my former facility just to encourage the people that I was on dialysis with that, keep going, keep hanging in there. So we all rallied together. That was, again, something that brought my family together. We laid everything out on the dining room table, and we had another table downstairs. Everybody came over, and we're packing bags, music is on, and it felt so good to know that someone was going to open this bag and be encouraged during the holiday, and feel a little sense of, okay, somebody's thinking about us out there. And so we took it and sang Christmas carols and just had a good time. And I think even for our family, just seeing, because even though they knew I was on dialysis, I don't think they really knew. Like, some of the facilities allowed us to come in and sing Christmas carols inside, like on a treatment floor. And so I felt like that day really was like, whoa, this is what you did? Like, they were looking around like, I can't believe this. Like, not many people get to go on a treatment floor, but this particular facility was really big, so they let us stand in the middle and sing Christmas carols while their patients were on treatment. Yeah, which never really happens, but this particular facility was like, no, you can come on in. They're like, okay. And I think that opened their eyes to, wow, Like, this is really a thing. Like, this is important. This is something that we should continue to be a part of. And so that was our first initiative going, and so now it's become a thing.
Okay.
We were featured on the news, and other people reached out like, I would love for you to come and do this for our facility. And so 2018 was our first drive. We just went to my center. And then since then, we're up to 11 facilities, 11 dialysis facilities. And we don't Christmas carol anymore because of COVID, but we do take bags and just encourage, warriors that we're here to support you. We put information about Kindness for Kidneys and how to connect with us. We get a chance to share our stories while we're there. And I'm like, yeah, I was on dialysis. She was my donor, and so it really helps. And I could see the shift in, a lot of people, they're used to people coming in the center saying, you should do this, you should think about transplant. But when you see someone that's been through it, like, hey, yeah, we went through it, she was my donor, they're like, whoa, wait, you were? And they get to see, like, this can happen for you too. And so that was our first initiative. And it's probably my favorite out of all the ones that we do, because just to see people's faces light up and even just smile during the holiday, it really just makes my heart smile.
Okay.
Like, that's the best Christmas gift that I could give to anyone. And so then we started support groups. That was another thing that I felt like the only support groups that are in our area were in downtown DC. And I probably am not going to make it down by Georgetown at 6 o'clock in the evening on a Thursday.
Ain't nobody making it.
Thank you. So I was like, we need something, that's a little more accessible. So I got together with 5 other people who are all kidney warriors themselves or working in the kidney space. And we said, let's start a support group here in the Southern Maryland area. So we sent surveys out to local facilities, like, which one would you come to? Would you come to Waldorf or would you come to Oxon Hill? And most people voted Oxon Hill. So we started March 2020. COVID hit the next week.
Dang.
Like, dang, we starting the group, we get off to a good start. It was packed in there. I was like, oh, wow, we need another room already. This is our first meeting. And COVID hit the next week. So we're like, well, what are we going to do now? Like, what's next? What do we do now? And so we transitioned to doing it on Zoom.
Okay.
And as you know, you were a guest last year. We just
and a couple weeks ago too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Twice you've been on. Both times in April. So I was like, oh, wow. I looked back. I was like, James was here in 2023.
That last one was crazy with all 3 of us donating in September at the same time. That was crazy.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I mean, go ahead.
No, that aligned perfectly, with your stories and everything. And so the support groups, and then another thing we just started 2 years ago is an education program. Because one thing that I noticed just in being in the kidney space and being a kidney warrior myself is that a lot of people were making decisions without the information. And also the caregivers and the care partners were clueless as to how to be a sense of support to their loved ones. They're like, one husband called and he's like, I just drop her off. Like, he's in tears. I just dropped my wife off. I don't know what goes on in there. I can't come in. She doesn't want to talk about it when she leaves. Like, I just need support, And so it's like, I feel like the caregivers are an untapped market.
Okay.
Like, we need to hone in on them because these people have to cook for their loved ones, especially if they're older and they're not as mobile. They have to cook for them. They have to take them to their doctor's appointments. They need to know just as much as the patient so that they can support them, and also so that they won't end up in that situation, or if they do, they know what to do.
Yeah.
So we started a 5-week education program, and basically it's all virtual. But we started with a local dialysis center, and we ended up getting a grant through Prince George's County. So I was like, good, yes.
You get paid for get some decent. Yeah, good,
yeah,
good.
So we started with a facility, and basically we take them through a 5-week. It's a 1-hour workshop once a week for 5 weeks. And we get together on Sundays. There's a guest speaker for the workshop, but we tackle things like mental health, nutrition and meal prep. We talk about goal setting. We talk about how to prepare for transplantation if you're interested. And so each workshop kind of builds upon itself, but the goal at the end of it is that they're walking away with tangible things that they could do to help them along the way. And also it's pointing them back to resources in our community. So here's a mental health specialist that you could call and have mental health services beyond this 5 weeks. Here's someone who's a 2-time kidney transplant recipient herself, who's a local chef. She provides meals meal planning and meal prep for kidney warriors. So just being able to show families, because we do let the care partners come as well. Like
Nice.
we tell the patients, like, invite your care partners. They're a crucial part of this program. And so we do it on Zoom for 5 weeks straight. And then at the end, for those that have attended at least 3 sessions, we give them a big gift box. And so, yeah, that started. And we want to continue it. Like, other facilities have reached out, but one of the stipulations for the grant was that we had to stay within 6 miles of the MGM casino.
Okay.
Because that's based on the revenue from that.
Gotcha.
And they give it back to local nonprofits
Gotcha.
to impact the area. And so yeah, we're hoping to expand that in the future. But those are our main programs. My sister and I, we go out and speak as well, just to share our story again and promote donation, promote kidney donation, and just to spread awareness, like to help people to hopefully prevent having to go on dialysis, or at just like in our session, our support group session, give them the encouragement and empowerment to even share with their family.
That's the thing that blows my mind in those support groups. Like, when you're looking, like there was a person on before, and they're trying to figure out how to divulge because they don't want to be a hindrance, or like there's this concern or shame or whatever. And I don't know about you, but I would give more kidneys if I could. Like,
And sorry to cut you off, but the crazy thing is, on our transplant day, they said you still have time to change your mind. And I said, why would I do that? They said, believe me, people do it all the time.
yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
Like, she's getting prepped and they be like, oh, your donor said they don't want to do it no more. Like, that's crazy.
And
to
they'll
me.
tell you, I won't tell them you said no. I'll tell them that we had a complication.
Complication.
Did I say complication?
Complication.
Thank you. Complication. Like there are so many opportunities through the process as a donor to back out, and I understand why they have that there, right? Mm-hmm. Because you could be getting paid, you could be getting all kind of stuff done, but when you locked in and it's something that you want to do, it's really, it's crazy that my dad and I, most of our conversations about religion, I would be so resistant to, because I just wasn't ready. Now that he's gone for like 10 years, I'm talking about God more than I ever talked about God in my life. It's just, I guess that's how it worked. But I'm trying to find God in the smallest of places and in every opportunity that I can. And I think that opportunity to give, to be of service to someone else, is God, and blessings are like present there. And for Tracy to have raised her hand and said, yo, I need this. I didn't know that I was going to get what I got when I said I was going to do it. I just felt compelled to do it. Mm-hmm. And when you realize that, oh, this is how much your life can change by giving something to someone else. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how you feel, but I want to make being a living donor like real simple in a way, like to where it's like not a big deal.
I think the scary part is people don't know. Surgeries back then, they used to have to cut your back open and take a rib out. Like, that's scary. So if you don't know about it, I didn't know. It really is like laparoscopic. Like, you got like 3 little holes, and it's not. I think a lot of that is the people not having knowledge. Like, I really had to ask a whole lot of questions, because I'm like, I would have still did it, but I'm like, listen, you didn't got my rib, man. Because I always be like, sometimes, all right, give my kidney back, playing with her. But, now I'm like, so now I don't have no ribs, but I think if the more educated you are, the less I think it will be scary for someone to, and it will be less of a thing. Like, you'll see more living donors out there. But one, you can't find a living donor if you're scared to talk about it, right? And so, I don't know. I think if we talk about it more, I think if we educate, no, you really can be a living donor and your life would push on now. the 24 hours before you can't eat and you're going to see your person eating.
Yeah.
But afterwards your person's cooking for you because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
in bed a little bit longer. But it's not, it's like this. It's not scary. Maybe because I've gone through it, but I think if we talk more.
And I think that's what I kind of want to use first off, my parents, my family was a little hesitant about even the idea of me doing it because they were like, who is Tracy? Mm-hmm. Number one. I'm like, I don't know who she is. This ain't something we should be doing for people who ain't family. And I'm listening to some of these conversations and I was like, what if it was me? Like when you reverse it, it make all the sense in the world, then I would understand. But like these preconceived notions as a community that we have about some of these things, and for me to have gone through the process, I really do. I love the fact that people want to acknowledge that it's a big deal, but I feel like by doing that, it makes the barrier for somebody else to do it bigger, if that makes sense. Because I really wanted to be like, it wasn't as nearly a big of a deal as I thought it was. And to have received everything that I received on the other end, I almost want to be like, it ain't a big deal. Just go do it. Just go do it. And I don't know how you feel about like the process of that. Like how do you acknowledge the fact that you did this big thing for your sister and she's forever indebted to you for doing it. But at the same time, it's like, I got so much from this thing. I've changed so much and it really wasn't that big of a deal. Like,
Right.
do you struggle with that?
Sometimes like when we're out speaking and someone's like, oh my gosh, that was like sometimes it's a little uncomfortable because to me, it wasn't a big deal. It's my sister, right? But the reward I got from that is not only did I save her life, mine was saved in the process. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to me, it evened itself out. So it's not a big deal. It wasn't a big deal, but to hear it, sometimes it feels good because you're like, wow, like I didn't look at it in the way that other people, like to me, it's my sister. If I got it, you got it. To me, it was like that. But like when you hear people constantly say, no, like that's a huge thing, it kind of like, oh, wow. But I don't feel like she's forever, you know what I'm saying, indebted to me. I don't feel like that unless when I'm playing, I'm like, girl, get my kidney back. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know how to handle it. But
You don't know how to handle it.
everyone says since she's gotten my kidney, she acts silly like me. So I'm like, you don't know how to handle this thing, girl. Like, give it back. But I don't know.
And maybe that's probably because I feel exactly like you, even though I gave it to someone who isn't a blood relative. But I do feel like it's sort of like saved my life. And it's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird in a very, very good way. And I want more people to be okay with giving in that way. And I don't know how we communicate that while at the same time not making it like a monumental kind of thing. And I struggle with it. And I think mainly because she's not my like blood relative. And it's like, oh, it's a bigger deal. And then somebody says, oh no, it is. And it's like, but how has your life changed?
In what aspect? Like
Whatever way that joint changed.
Well, one, after that, I'm definitely dealing with situations that would usually spiral me, in a dark place. I definitely deal with that differently. My relationship with God and my sister changed drastically. Me and God, I talk to him, like people laugh at me, but I really do talk to God like he my homeboy. Like, sometimes I'd be like, G, what's going on, yo? You know what I'm saying? I really talk to him like that. And that has gotten better, definitely gotten better. and my perspective changed on just life. Like it has really changed on life, period. And like you said earlier in this talk, you're finding happiness in the smallest things. Like me, I always focused on I don't have, I need, instead of finding happiness in the smallest of spaces. And let me just say to you, because you didn't know that, well, she was not blood, that really shows your heart. And that God showed up for her through you in that moment. That really exposed your heart. And that is very commendable, not to, have blood related. I probably would have did it if we had to do the swap thing, but we didn't have to do that. But for you to just stand up and say, hey, I got you, that's very commendable. And that really exposes your heart. That's a great thing.
Thank you. Were you going to say something? Oh, go. And we went through the GW transplant with Dr. Melanson, and I remember him calling me a superhero. And I remember, this happened 2 times, by the way. Well, this feeling that I had happened 2 times. And I was like, am I? I was like, damn, I am. Like, that's a good feeling. Mm-hmm. Like, because I used to have all of these feelings of not being something,
Not being enough.
And you could play the game, you can front, you could buy a car, you could do all of this BS stuff to kind of like pose or whatever. But like, when you got it in like your soul, when somebody speaks to you or you do something that like connects with like the God source, and his words said that. Like, so it was almost like that coupled with what I was doing. Those 2 things combined like made it happen. Another time was when you posted that Black History Month. That took me out. I needed to hear that. Man, it meant, I felt the exact same way when Dr. Melanson said I was a superhero. Because it made me feel like, I was like, I am Black history. I would have never thought of myself as being a part of Black history.
Yeah, I get that.
And I don't even know if you knew, well, I'm sure you could not have known how much I needed to hear that, to see that at that moment, and how God was speaking through like your gesture, and how I called my homeboys afterwards, because I got a homeboy now. He and I talk in the morning, and we connect, we cry, we laugh, we talk stuff, we joke with each other and everything. And I was like, man, this woman sent this thing, and I was like, did you know I'm a part of Black history? I be calling people and telling them stuff. When I know, I want somebody else to know. It's like every time I eat something good, I want to share it with my wife. Every time, if I taste something real good, taste this. I want to share the goodness. And that was a good thing that you did. And I wanted to say thank you for that. Yeah.
I felt like you needed that recognition. And not that I didn't know it would impact you like that, but God just laid you on my heart like, yeah, this man is amazing. He is Black history. These people are Black history. And, I know you're like, it's not a big deal, but like my sister said, like there aren't a lot of people in the world with hearts like you all. Like just a heart to want to give, a heart to want to see someone smile and all of that.
Yeah.
So that should be recognized.
Yeah.
It should be something that people aspire to, but if we don't recognize you, then people aren't looking like, yeah, maybe I could do something,
So that's the balance. It's like, yeah, I want to be in the limelight, but at the same time, I want to lay low. Like I want to lay a little bit low.
Yeah, it was well deserved. I mean, I wish I could give even more, because it really does take courage to go against your family. Who's like, what Tracy? What are you doing? Like, this is outlandish. What is going on with you? It takes someone with courage to stand up and say, no, I know this is my purpose and this is what I'm going to do, and go through with it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people say, yeah, well, my cousin said, but it didn't happen. And I'm still on dialysis. And so you know, to me, like, yeah, we need to shine a light on these people who are saying against all odds. Like, my sister had 2 bone marrow biopsies to give me a kidney. You know, like, that's huge.
She
Bone
actually
marrow,
tried to discourage me after that.
yeah, after the first bone marrow biopsy, because again, they were asking us to go through all of these hoops. She would have to go get infusions. And after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm on the list, sis. Don't worry about it. You know, you have a young child, you have a life. She's trying to get on her feet. And now they're asking her to go back and get another bone marrow biopsy. Like, that's one of the most painful biopsies you can get. And so, you know, my thought was, no, this is enough. We're at capacity here. And she's like, no, what do they need me to do? No, I'm going. I'm getting the second bone marrow biopsy. That's huge.
But you had your journey too.
With each blessing you have to go through, to me, it's like you said, you have to go through the process of before you get there, right? So whatever they needed me to do, I had to go through that process. She was going through her process sitting in the chair, right? That was part of her journey, help her mentally. So my process was whatever and to come out and we're a perfect match. So had I given up, would she have received a perfect match?
Yeah.
Would she have received what was a blessing for her? Could she have gone 10 years, 11 years on that one kidney?
Yeah.
You know, and so part of the process is that. So regardless of what she said, the doctor said, my parents said, no, she is mine. God told me she getting mine, and that's what we doing. So we could have went for another biopsy. We could have kept going, you know, like she was gonna get it.
I know that's right.
You know, so.
There was something I had to go through when I was going through the testing. They found out I had kidney stones. And I had kidney stones removed like 2 years prior. And I had to get that removed and go through that process. Now, they say men don't know what it's like for y'all to give birth. I disagree. I think if you mess with these kidney stones, I think you figure it out or get close. I had to get the kidney stones removed before I got the surgery. And I swore to myself I was gonna never have to do that again. But it was like, if this is what I gotta do to get this kidneys, to do this thing, it's just a part of the process. And I'll make it through and I'll get to the other end, but this is just what you gotta do. So boom, let's do it. Now, mind you, I don't think Tracy even know this. Only one of my kidneys produced kidney stones. She got the one that don't produce kidney stones.
Wow.
So I was like, give her the one.
Give her that one.
I asked them if they could give her the one that produced kidney stones.
I don't want to go through this again.
And they were like, something happened in the process. I don't think Tracy knows this. Something happened with, they had to give her the healthier one. Out of the two. I can't remember exactly why something happened, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? And that's just I love the fact that y'all sisters. I love the fact that y'all black. Cause that's a part of the ingredients, and you can't remove certain ingredients from a dish and the dish still be a dish, right? So the fact that we black and we talking about loving each other and giving and helping in the ways that we are, I feel is offering a dish that people can eat off of, and it nurtures in a way that's different. You know, when you got somebody who, you know, with a different complexion, you know, talking about this stuff. It's not to minimize what they do and how they do it, but I want to see more of us talking about like this loving and healing and sharing. I don't want to be the only black man offering to become a living donor. I just don't. I mean, yeah, if you white and do it, awesome, but I want more of us giving in that way, because ultimately we're missing a blessing by not giving. And we I feel like as black people sometimes we're coming from such a deficit that we gotta feel like we hoard me. What do I need? And that mindset is a part of what, because I dealt with depression and had a lot of the similar, situations as you. But it was, all of that was always centered around me.
You.
What did I not have? What can I not figure out? What can I not get right? And the more I focus outside and give and help and look for love and all of that kind of stuff, it helps me manage those thoughts. Because I don't think they go away, to be honest. You just get better at managing them and adding different types of stories. And I think some of the people who I talk to about depression and those negative thoughts, they're spending so much time trying to fight them, to make them go away. And a part of my journey was acknowledging that they don't necessarily go away. I just got to do a better job of adding other parts to the story, and it just balances it out.
And a lot of times, especially when you really start feeling it kick in, a lot of people be alone. They go in the house, I don't want to do anything. And that really is like inviting it to the party. Like, we about to have a party, I'm gonna be by myself, let's just like come give me what, let's have fun. People become comfortable in that.
Yeah. I
was never comfortable because it was scary. Sometimes thoughts are really scary. I have to call her and she'll get me together one way or another, but I really have to call her sometimes, like I'm getting to a point where it's scary, but the more when I feel myself getting in that way, I might just ride down to her house or go, hey, let's go get something to eat or something, because when you sit in it, you're playing. Now we all involved, we playing with it. And I really started to realize that not too long ago. Like, the more you sit in it, the more you're inviting it now at this point. And so I guess sometimes with you and reaching out and adding other ingredients, that's the best thing to do. I mean, don't stop. Like, don't stop doing that and reaching out, and because that is very helpful.
I think so that's how you've gotten better with managing it.
Yes, I've gotten better. Now there's sometimes you do still have bad. You can't control it all the time. Yeah. Sometimes I wake up and I have to call her and be like, listen. She'd be like, what happened? Did anything happen last night? No, I woke up like this. Yeah. Like I don't know how to, and we'll talk, and by the time we get off the phone, it's better. Or, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a minute to figure out what's happening, figure out what happened, because sometimes you figure it out, like, dang, that was last week. Why did I think about that just now? And so sometimes I do have to sit in it, even if it's for a day, because I need to figure out what happened. Yeah. Was it something that I swept under the rug before and I should have dealt with it then? Because it's going to creep back up on you. And so now I'm starting to deal a lot I'm dealing with that now. I'm not about to sweep that under, let me call my sister, let me call my other sister, and I'm gonna deal with that now. And that's what's really been helping me. I'm gonna sit in it today because I'm sad, I'm gonna figure out what it is, and I'm gonna deal with it now. So it won't come back and surprise me later, And giving
yourself permission. So like, okay, I'm gonna feel sad. Don't feel sad about feeling sad. Mm-hmm. Just feel sad. You don't have to add the other sad on top of it.
I'm giving myself permission to feel that feeling. Yeah. Because at first I didn't, and that's what made me go like just ooh.
Because it's like it starts to magnify itself.
With everything you do, every time somebody talks to you, they say one word and it's not even wrong. It's just now you just hearing stuff different. No, like you can't. You have to give yourself permission to feel. I mean, that's with everything. Even this whole wrapping this up, you have to give yourself permission to feel sad sitting in that chair. Like, if she didn't give herself permission, she wouldn't have went through the journey the way she needed to go through that journey. Yeah. The same thing with donors. You have to give yourself permission to feel anxious or scared, even thinking about donating, So that's another thing that people can work on. Give yourself permission.
I like that. How can people reach you and find out and donate and support?
Sure. So we're on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, well, X now, and LinkedIn as Kindness for Kidneys. Okay. Also our website, www.kindnessforkidneys.org. and there's a place to donate there. And also Cash App, Kindness for Kidneys as well, or Zelle, kindnessforkidneys@gmail.com.
Check out the merch store while you're at it.
Yes.
How you gonna leave out the merch store? See?
I need her here.
Check out the merch
Yes,
store.
we have a line on there that's called Take a Stand, and we launched that during COVID. And basically, they're shirts that have name tags on it that says "I am," and then it has a word, resilient, or "I am courageous," or "I am kidney warrior," overcomer. She has the overcomer shirt.
Okay.
And so, basically, the premise of it, I used Malcolm X quote as kind of our theme for the Take a Stand collection: "The one who stands for nothing falls for anything." And basically, we show up in what we're standing as. So if I'm standing as a kidney warrior, I'm going to show up as a kidney warrior. If you're standing as an overcomer, you're going to overcome, you're going to show up that way. So what I'm putting my attention to and how I show up it directly correlates to what's going to be on the other side of that. So it's called Take a Stand collection. So that's on there too. And we invite you to take a stand. Who are you? You know, because that's how you're going to show up. Are you an overcomer? Are you courageous? Like, wear that proudly. You know, this is who I am. And then you'll start showing up the way that you see yourself.
Mahalia Jackson got a song called "Lord, Don't Move the Mountain, Give Me the Strength to Climb." And I love that. I love the idea of acknowledging that what's there is something that, like, God gave you the opportunity to grow and learn from. And sometimes we're asking God to move something while at the same time not recognizing that we're moving, like, our growth, our blessing, our opportunity to change and show up. And I wanted to close with a quote that I heard you recite that reminded me of that. That's okay. I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. I feel like y'all journey and y'all story is 100% reflective of that, and it reminded me of my own family's journey and how we've been able to do that, like, in our lives, so that we could get to that destination of healing and acceptance and love. And thank you both very, very, very much for your time and your love for each other. And it was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for inviting us.
Give me my kidney back.
Right.